Today's episode of Running It Back is ready for your listening pleasure. Oh, and it's a good one. We're heating it up. Today on the show, Justin Foster joins me, and like many people on the show, someone I haven't seen in probably exactly a year, maybe more. Justin is one of those guys who is or was a veteran of his comedy scene where he lived in Dallas and then moved to Los Angeles. So he came here fresh, ready to hit the ground running. When I met him, he was working as a bartender at one of the comedy clubs here that I was frequenting. And that's how we crossed paths. That's how I got to know him, through bartending. Actually, he was doing the bartending. I was doing the drink ordering. But we got into his life. We figured out what he was like as a kid, his family, his goals, and then, of course, his ambitions for the next upcoming year. Not only that, we have a very competitive round of the Rotten Tomatoes head-to-head game to finish off the episode. Will Justin be the new leader in the clubhouse of the Rotten Tomatoes head-to-head game? Sean Leary scored 6 points last time. Can he dethrone him? Can he take him off the mountain? Can he kick him out of the bar, essentially? Well, find out. Justin Foster is on Running It Back with me right here, right now. Check it out. On the show, joining me this week, Justin Foster, fellow comedian. We've crossed paths many times around the town, around Los Angeles, but it's probably been about a full year and change since I've actually physically seen you. So we're all catching up.
Yeah, this is good. It's weird because of social media. Like you think that you see, they're like, oh yeah, I see that person every day, but really they're like in your feed, and then you like, oh my god, it's been like over a year and a half to have actually seen this person. It's like weird.
Definitely.
Does it ever happen to you where you're like, oh yeah, we hung out the other day, and it's been like 2 years? Like, oh.
I personally do so much projecting onto people through their social media stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I know what this person likes. I know their sense of humor. I know sort of a little bit of their background. And then I see them and I'm like, does this person know me?
Right.
I feel like I know too much.
Yeah, especially if people post every single day, so you're just used to seeing them in your feed every day. You go, oh, this person's just a part of my life, but it's like digitally, so it's weird. That happened to me the other day. I saw someone, and like I see them on social media every single day, and I realized that I hadn't actually seen them in person in like 2 years. And it was just, I was like, oh, has it really been that long? He was like, yeah, like before the pandemic. I was like, oh, okay.
I like the one where, like you said, someone posts every day, you know a bunch about them, and then a couple days go by and they don't put anything up, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Are you okay?
What's going on? And I don't even know this person.
Yeah. Or my favorite is like if it's like a club, someone like who books a show, right? And you're like, I'm pretty active on social media. I post like a joke a day, sometimes two, a funny picture, a stand-up clip, a crowd. Like I'm pretty, and then they'll always like it or like laugh, react or whatever. And then like you ask to do their show, and they're like, yeah, could you send us a clip? Like, I was like, I'm funny every day. What do you want from me?
You can't win. You seriously cannot win the social media race. You never will win.
It's like, are you watching the things you're liking? I don't understand.
We talked about this yesterday. It's simultaneously the best invention and the worst invention. We can always communicate. We can always dispense information. And on the flip side, I know one of my aunts is a very angry person. I don't know when this happened. I don't know how we met, our roads met, and we're just dealing with all the aftermath of it.
Yeah, or you see people that you've known for like a long time, the older they get, and whether it's like drugs or alcohol or stress or politics, like you can just see them like slowly start to unravel, like via, you know what I mean? I don't know if you have any of those people, and you're like, I have no like a couple of people who I've known since high school, and like their posts get a little bit longer, a little bit rambly, a little bit, and then there's that one you go, oh, you're not doing okay, like like you're not doing well.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. It's basically a public journal to most people, or to some people, and we just sort of get these insights to them. We get reactions, like whenever there's an event, there's a TV show, there's sports, we read their like reactions right away. We're like, oh, okay, this guy's
Mm-hmm.
on this side of the
Mm-hmm.
argument. Okay, he's a fan of this team. Oh, he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
This person watches too much Bachelor. You kind
Mm-hmm.
of know so much about
Yeah.
it. It's really, really weird. I think we are basically the children of internet, and we're figuring it out. We're still growing with it, figuring out what exactly this is and what it means to us, and still like how to use it. We
Mm-hmm.
still don't fully know how to use it. We still kind of have this trial and error.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see like what decades of this does to like. I noticed it in comedy. I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm noticing that um audience attention spans are shorter and shorter because of, it's like, oh my God, okay, it's been like 20 minutes. Can I look at my phone now? How
Mm-hmm.
much long, when can I grab my phone? And like the other day, it was like, I made a comment of like, I was like, you guys are probably looking at me like, this is the longest TikTok video you've ever seen. Right. Cause you could tell like after like, cause like social media is like, we have to be funny in 15 seconds or people start tuning out. And then you want them to come to a show and like watch 2 hours of comedy. It's
Mm-hmm.
really weird. I'm interested to see long-term, like what, like our movies, like you're going to go to like Cinemark and it's like a 30-minute feature film. Like that's all we can handle attention wise. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a
I'm
good point.
interested to
I
see.
didn't think about that. It trickling into the actual medium.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, like with you, like mentioned, short attention span. I didn't start doing comedy in LA. I was like in another city, regular club system, and you
Where?
learn what. I started comedy in Salt Lake City, where I
Mm-hmm.
was living, and regular traditional club system is a headlining act is 45 minutes to an hour, and you start thinking,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if I want to be a headliner, this is the time I got to have. This is what I got to prepare for. You move to LA, you learn headlining in LA is 20 to 25 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if the attention span carries over in that regard too, when you come here from somewhere else and we just have such a saturation of entertainment, and now it's dispelled down into shorter time periods.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. I think LA is very hard to like start comedy and develop comedy. As you were saying, like our goal, because I started in Dallas and our goal was like, I gotta get my 45. Like I gotta get my
Mm-hmm.
45, I gotta get my hour and I gotta start headlining. And the people who started in LA, it's like, dude, I just got my 15. I'm ready to start headlining. And you go, oh no, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no,
Right.
no, no. Like I'm ready. I've had dudes be like, I'm about to hit the road, man. I got my head, I did 20 minutes at Flappers the other night. Like they let me headline. And I'm like, dude, that's not even a feature set like on the road. Like be very careful. And also like one of the things too in LA is like there's so much competition. It's like it's really
Mm.
hard to like, hey, come to my show. It's like, cool. Well, like who else is on? Like what celebrities are on the show?
Right.
Because
Did you ever
Dane
see
Cook and
Teen
Bill
Mom?
Burr,
The
yeah, right.
person
They're
from it,
down
she's
the
going to try
street.
some stand up.
Yeah. Janice.
Awesome.
I should not know anyone's names from Teen Mom, but I do. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, and a lot of people who start in LA, like you get better faster, of course, because like you're in it with everyone. But there is a misconception of like my LA 15 is a road 5, essentially.
That's a good point. Yeah. And you don't
Yeah.
really know it till you've kind of seen both worlds. He's like, you've
Mm-hmm.
compared, this is what this is here, this is what this is over there. You don't
Mm-hmm.
really, you can't really reference it until you've heard that. But
Yeah.
you're starting it up again. I've been seeing your posts. You're getting out and doing some
Mm-hmm.
shows again. How is it? Catch me up, because it's been so long. What are you doing to get back up to speed? How has it been going for you as you start up?
It's interesting. My mindset has changed after taking a year off. I don't it's gratitude now, instead of like, what does it pay, how far is it, am I going to have a good set, does the audience like me? Like it's not that anymore. It's like, dude, I get to do this again. And it's like I just do, like I like literally I've done like 10 shows, and every time, all 10, like when my feet hit the stage, there's like this like, oh my God, I'm actually doing it, because I don't know about you. It's like, I didn't think this was going to happen. I honestly, and I'm also like a worst case scenario guy. I didn't think this was going to happen for like at least another year or two or ever. I thought this
Oh,
was going to
really?
continue.
You are worst
Yeah.
case. Yeah.
I thought for me personally, after 2 years, 3 years I was just going to go, at this, I got to move on, And so the fact that we're able to do it so quickly again, man, it's just like, oh, I feel so grateful. And I'm taking gigs that I wouldn't normally take, and I'm driving hours to do bar shows for no money. I'm just like, I've separated someone said separate profit from passion, and I'm able to do that, and I'm able to be like, hey, I'm just really having a good time. And my sets have been great. Like it's been like, I feel bulletproof right now, like material wise, and just being free on stage because it was taken away. I feel like I have a second lease on life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I got out for a couple weekends to a few places out of town, and I'm like you. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. People are actually showing up. This is going to be fun, and I'm feeling really pumped up. But the other comics on the show, they've kind of been in this for a few. They had been in it for a few months already, so they were already back to normal. They were like, yeah, it's looking a little light out there. I'm like, no way, we got 15 plus people. This is going to be great. Yeah. Does anybody have a camera?
Yeah. You don't understand. I'm out of the house. This is great.
Right. You get kind of supercharged. And I was excited and nervous at the same time. Like everybody says that, but I was legitimately like, this is going to be great. Do I know how to do this? This is going to be great. Do I remember how to speak in front of a crowd? This is going to be great. I don't know if I can do this. It was really weird. The two sort of emotions at the same time, and you get off and running. And it was a little bit of like, felt like a little bit like my first time where you're sort of mouthing the words, but you're not in control of them per se. Yeah. And then it came along a little bit. Did you notice any, as you got back to it, any rust or any having to get, you did notice like you had to get back up to speed?
Yeah, it was weird. To your point, what you were saying is like, I was nervous, but I was like, it was awesome. Like, dude, I feel nervous again. Like I'm not on autopilot anymore. Like this, like, it's not, cause Mary, like you've been doing comedy a while. I've been doing comedy a while. Like you get to a point where you just kind of like plug in and go. And, this was like, I don't know how this is going to go. Like, so you feel alive. I felt like, wow, let's go. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing a bunch of Zoom stuff. And, I found out that a lot of stuff that worked on Zoom doesn't work live. And so there was a little bit of correcting the first couple of shows of like, okay, this works, this didn't work, this worked, this didn't work. But it was like, I was definitely not so much rusty as far as like, I don't remember how to do stand-up, but rusty as in like the material I've written over the last year may not translate from cell phone to live audience.
Yes. Yeah. I noticed that too. We were all forced to do online comedy, and it was billed as online stand-up, but I think you learned pretty quickly it wasn't stand-up, it was radio essentially that you were doing.
But they gave it to you. Sorry.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying in the sense of like the audience, you're kind of, instead of talking to a crowd, you're talking to one person in this sort of Zoom world. And then once your brain sort of realized that, I think we all adapted and we built our sets and our jokes around that. So it's like anything else, a performer adapts, but there's that missing of the big crowd. I think everybody has been grateful who have gotten back to it when there's a crowd.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I feel like Zoom gave you a lot. Like they understood that this is a weird situation, that you are on your phone, that comedy needs to be live. So my personal experience is the Zoom audiences gave me a lot. So like a joke that, it was okay, they would they would just give it to you, right? Or maybe two people were just really loud laughers, but because it's coming through headphones, you go, I'm killing right now, right? So then the live audience doesn't give you that much of a pass. So there was some stuff that would like crush on Zoom, and then I would go to like a live audience and they'd be like, yeah, it's fine. And so I had to like I had to be like, okay, let's change it, whatever. So yeah, to answer your question, there was like a learning curve. The first show back was like, I really wanted a layup, dude. I really wanted a softball, and they made me work really hard. And I got off stage and I was like, I don't know. It's been a year. This one didn't go great. Do I even want to keep doing this? Like this? And then the second show was amazing. Oh yeah, no, I'm good. You know what I mean?
Okay, so, that's interesting. Yeah. So your first time back wasn't wasn't a home run. Not.
No, I went last after like 12 comics. The audience was again, attention spans. They had given up 3 comics before me. They were done. They were just done with the show. And I went last, and I had to do 25 minutes for the first time in a year in front of a tired, drunk, exhausted crowd. And it went fine. Like it wasn't a bomb by any means, but it wasn't that softball of like, we're grateful to be here and everyone's going to kill because we've been inside. A lot of the audience didn't care about COVID. They hadn't been inside. This was just another Friday night out. And to me, it was this epic monument event. And they were just like, yeah, we we've been going out every single weekend to do stuff. And, and so they made me work a little bit. And I was a little frustrated when I got off stage. And then of course, the last couple of shows got better and better and better. And
stand-up is such a weird medium from the stand-up perspective, because I think it's the only performance where you prepare your thoughts, you write it down, you rehearse it, you say it in your head, and then you actually go do stand-up, and then you get off stage and the first words out of your mouth are, how did I do? Like we have no idea. We look for someone else to tell us. Where was that first show back that you went to? Was that not in Los Angeles? Where was that?
No, it was outside. It was in San Diego. Okay. And San Diego's a little bit more conservative, a little bit more red. And they were young. It was a young crowd. And you could tell that although things were closed, their lives weren't closed. And you could tell that they had definitely been out doing stuff and not really cared about a pandemic, for whatever your opinion on that is. But you could tell that this was not their first night out in a year. Yeah. And I'm like, this is my first night out in a year. Like, I'm going to crush. Like, people are going to be so grateful that comedy's opened up again. And they were just kind of indifferent, which I wasn't expecting. Because you hear this, like, dude, the audiences are great. The audiences are so grateful to be able to do stuff again. Like, everyone's going to crush. Everyone's going to, and then you get there and it's just, oh yeah, this is just a regular Friday night early show.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I had the same experience. I think I was more excited to be there than the audience was. I went back to my home state of Salt Lake, my city, to do stand-up. I got to do a weekend. I was there. And the audience I did some jokes about Zoom. And then one of the comics was like, these guys have been working the whole time. I don't think any of these guys are on Zoom, Pat. These guys work. Right. I'm like, you might be right. Yeah, this is it's one of those like things you hear the comic going to a small town and someone says, how was it? The audience is just glad you're there. This was the opposite. I was just glad to be there. And the audience was like, all right, do it. Just do it. And I was like, oh, okay, but good experience.
I was like, this is my first time at the house in a year. And literally I had someone go, why?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, why am I projecting my own thoughts onto everybody, thinking everybody's in my same boat?
Yeah. But taking that year off, it's like, I'm very grateful to be doing comedy. I'm grateful to do shows. I'm just going up whenever I can, but I'm also like, that like kind of people pleasing stuff has gone away, of like, I care what people think about me, what the industry thinks about me, what the audience thinks about me, what other comics thinks about me. Like, that's kind of been like, I don't really care anymore. And that may come back over time, but it's been a really nice, like, whatever kind of feeling where I don't know if you experience that too.
I have from time to time. I think it kind of comes and goes in waves. I think age might have something to do with it too. Yeah. At some point you're like, this is what I am. I know my personality. I'm open to changing it depending on experience, but I know my perspectives. I know my views. I know my life experience. So I get that when you say like, I'm not in there to please anybody, but I am trying to do my best. I am trying to get a reaction from a crowd, but I think that's always evolving too. Like, did you have this as a kid? When you were a kid, every adult in your head was a fully formed human being. I always thought every adult, every teacher, every coach I had, I was like, all right, he's got it figured out. And then you get to an adult and you're like, those guys didn't know shit.
Right. I always thought there was something wrong with me.
It's like, because I'm still figuring it out. I'm still confused about lots of things. They were adults. And I just sort of assumed they had it all together. It's a age thing. I think it's a person in authority thing as well. You just assume they know they have it all together.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like, I definitely want to get a reaction of the audience. I always want to do well, but I think it's like that taking it personally when it doesn't go as great as you want it to is gone. Like, it doesn't really it hasn't really been affecting me as much as it used to. Like, oh man, I had a bad set. What the hell? And I just re-examine everything and like, should I change this joke and toss it? And you go, yeah, that was just a bad set. And I've been able to just kind of like move on. Yeah. Which is I don't know. It's nice.
It usually takes me 24 hours. I have a bad one and I'm kind of miserable about it for about a whole day. And then it kind of comes around. But when you started comedy or earlier in your life, you were more concerned about perspective, how to present yourself. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Like early on, like I like I really cared. Like I wanted every audience member to like me. I wanted every comic to like me. I wanted every person, everyone to just think I was great. And now that's kind of gone away. It's like once you like, oh, I'm really good at comedy. I'm like really good at what I do. And if somebody doesn't like me, or this audience doesn't, or if the entire crowd doesn't like me, it's like I don't take it as personally as it doesn't like define me as a comedian or as a performer anymore.
Mm-hmm.
If that, like, if you get off stage and someone like a comic is like doesn't say good set, you go, what's wrong with this guy? It's like I said good set, and now it's like, I just don't. That's gone away.
Were you like that as a kid or as a younger person too?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How so?
Absolutely. Yeah, just always like, I don't know, like I was always like trying to be at the center of attention and always like trying to get people's attention and like validation from other people. And I mean, I guess probably why I do stand up, but yeah, that's kind of always been like that people pleasing shit. It's always, you get off stage and you want the booker to go, hey man, that was a really great hosting set. Can you come back next week and feature? Hey, that was a great feature set. Can you headline next weekend? And,
Definitely. Yeah.
And if that doesn't happen, I used to be like, what's wrong with, or you like email a club and you go, here's my clip, and they watch it and they don't book you. And I used to take that so personally. And I feel like after this pandemic, I don't anymore. And I don't know, maybe that will change, but now it's just kind of like, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Which so many comics have had before me. And I just never had that. I was like, yeah, I emailed him, never responded back. Like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah. Well, I was doing my research on you, and I'm realizing we have a lot of similar paths. The first one being, I grew up in Texas. You grew up in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you grow up in Texas?
I grew up in Dallas.
You're Dallas. I'm El Paso, Texas.
Yeah.
And I always find it funny here. I've lived in a bunch of different cities, especially here. There's a lot of times where you have to describe Texas to people here. Mm-hmm. You have to kind of tell them what goes on there because they have a perception of it. And Texas is its own thing. And I get it I'm from El Paso. And if I tell someone from Texas that I'm from Texas too, and I say El Paso, they'll say, oh, that's not really Texas. So I get it from both ends. I have to justify my Texas. You grew up there. What, did you have siblings?
Yeah.
Family?
2 brothers, 3 boys. I was the oldest.
Oh, I'm the same way. I'm the oldest of 3 also.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
What's the age gap you have?
I was the oldest. My middle brother, he actually passed away, but he was 2 years, about a year and a half younger than me. And then my younger brother is 7 years younger than me.
I see. Yeah, I'm very similar. I have one brother 1 year younger and one 10 years younger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's interesting we have that. Tell me if you feel this, because I felt this. I never felt like I had a younger brother, the one that's 1 year younger than me. I always felt like we were the same age.
Yeah. That's why I get confused about I get confused.
Not until I had the youngest one that I feel like I was an older brother, because the 2 of us were 1 grade apart. We always did things at basically the same time. Were you very close to the middle one? Personality, age-wise?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm really close to my stepbrother as well. I consider him like, my real brother, but I never felt like the older brother though. I always felt like those 2 were the older ones, because I was always kind of like immature and like couldn't really like figure stuff out. And they kind of, I mean, especially my younger brother. My younger brother is married, he's got a house, he's got a job. It's like, we'll talk, and I feel like I'm the younger brother most of the time. Mm-hmm. He's very like this is what I do. I work, I come home, I make dinner, and then on the weekends and I'm like, we're gonna drive to Oceanside, we're at a bar. You
ever heard of Reno?
Yeah, very flighty, and so I always felt like the younger brother.
I get that. I didn't think of that, but I think I'm approaching that boat too. I have one of the brothers is married with children and stuff, and that seems to be a normal path in some sense. And I'm like, hey, I'm not on any normal path. I could be, But I didn't seem like I've steered myself in that direction. So in a sense, yeah, I am the youngest as far as, I guess I want to say life achievements, but that's not really fair. But as far as normal life proceedings,
right? Exactly. Yeah,
I guess you would
exactly.
say. What kind of kid were you?
Oh, I was an asshole, dude. I was like class clown, disruptive, D student. You couldn't get me to do any homework. I just did not care. I thought it was dumb, actually. I thought I was like actually just dumb. And I took like an IQ test. I actually had like a really high IQ, but but I didn't take it till like my senior year of high school. I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And they were like, no, you're not dumb. You just don't care. And like, I couldn't retain information. But then like I got older, and I think Bill Burr had talked about this with his, like flying a helicopter, you know, because he got his helicopter license. I really resonated with what he was saying. It's like, if it's something I care about, dude, I figure it out, you know. Like I learned how to play bass over the pandemic, and I started with not knowing how to play a string instrument to like being really good in a year. I wanted to learn graphic design, so I like taught myself Photoshop and code, and I was writing websites with zeros and ones, but you know, and you know what I mean, like the HTML code back in the day. Like, so like if it's something I was interested in, comedy, if it's something I was interested in, I become like hyper focused and I like figure it out. So like as a kid growing up, I didn't have anything like that I gravitated to. So I just kind of like bounced. I wasn't good at sports. I wasn't a good student. I wasn't particularly like good at really anything. So it was very confusing for me until I found comedy.
I got a lot of that growing up too. I always liked the little euphemisms teachers or parents would give you when you would kind of do average to poor. And they would say like, you just need to do something you're interested in. You just need to find the right way to study. And then this was my favorite one. Whenever you would do bad in school and they would say like, well, he's just bored. Like, no, I'm not. I'm just not good.
Yeah.
Or I was like, he's a bad test taker. He's just a bad test taker. It was like, yeah, you know what? I study well. I just can't take the test. The other way around never works. I always do well at tests. I just can't study. It's such a weird sort of little like excuse we sort of made for each other with it.
My senior year of high school, they basically worked out this thing called co-op. I don't know if you guys had that where you were at, but it's basically like I went to school for the first like 40 minutes, like checked in, went to homeroom, and then I left for the rest of the day to go work. And that counted as credit for, they were just like, actually I waited tables, which is really funny. They were just like, we know where you're headed. We know where you're doing once you graduate. Just start now and we'll let you graduate. So my work hours,
instead of a senior gown, they gave you an apron.
Yeah, exactly. my senior year was me driving to wait tables, and they're like, all right, fine, you can graduate.
Really? So growing up, you weren't a sports guy. You weren't school. What were your interests? Were you music guy? Were you movies? Did you have any interests?
Yeah, music and movies and stuff, but not. Yeah. When I was like 16 or 17, like I just like my favorite thing to do was like just drink with my friends and like hang out, you know, and that just became everything. Like that was like all I did. Like we'd go to concerts and like have tailgate party, you know, just real Texas shit. We would like sit in driveways and like drink. And then my big thing was music. I loved going to shows, and I was like involved in like the music scene in Dallas. And so, it was kind of like bouncing around.
I forget how important driving around was to a high school student. I was talking with someone that I went to college with, and he grew up in New Mexico, and he would say, we would just drive around. We'd go to Sonic. And
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Sonic is New Mexico, is a Southwest thing. If you don't know, and you drive up to it, it's Texas, it's Southwest, it's New Mexico, it's Texas, and you go to Sonic, you'd see who was there. You maybe drive around, and then you just come back to Sonic.
Exactly. Yeah. That's when I watched Dazed and Confused. I was like, that's what you do. You drive up, you see people, you know, what are you guys doing tonight? You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's have a party. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was, as a kid, I was into sports. However, I wasn't really good at sports, but I was into sports. It was the first thing that like I could obsess over. So I would get like the football cards, and I would study the jersey numbers, the helmets they wore. And that was the first time I learned where colleges were, because it would say like, oh, such and such went to USC. I'm like, hey, Dad, where's USC? Oh, that's Southern California. Oh, Dad,
Interesting.
what's Penn State? Oh, that's a good school. That's where I learned what schools was through sports, So
yeah,
that was my interest, and I would just study football cards, and I could learn everything, all the stats, but I could never translate that into schoolwork. It never translated.
Doesn't help. Yeah,
It doesn't help. It's very weird.
I was the same way with like music, like I could tell you like who was the supporting act for this band's 1997 arena tour, but I couldn't tell you the difference between all the branches of government. Like it was like what I retained was so specific and like not helpful.
Right.
Like I can still tell you what the Smashing Pumpkins opened with at Reunion Arena in 1998, but I can't tell you. You know what I mean? It's really, it's very strange. Yeah.
You were a music guy. You were heavy into music.
Yeah.
I think we're about the same age. So if you're 90s, you're a teenager in the 90s. Who were your bands? Were you a rock guy? Were you a metal guy?
Yeah.
What were you
like Nine Inch Nails, Smashing Pumpkins, those kind of bands I really liked. Let's see, who else was I really into back then?
Do you remember your first concert?
Yeah, my first concert was the Eagles. Well, okay, let me take that back. My very first concert was the Monkees. Remember the Monkees? From like the 60s TV show. And
what year was this?
I was a kid and I loved the Monkees, but I remember a stand-up comedian was the opening act. I don't know if that like has anything to do with what I do now, but my first real concert was the Eagles and then Nine Inch Nails. And then, then I saw everybody. I saw like the Offspring, Smashing Pumpkins, Soundgarden. I tried to see everybody when they came through. I spent so much money on concerts. Weezer, Green Day, Bad Religion, Deftones. We would see all the Texas. They're from Sacramento, but they would play Texas like twice a year. So we'd always go see Deftones, Trippin' Daisy, Toadies. I was just always at a show.
Yeah, I think Texas, if I were to describe the Texas music appreciations to someone, it would be classic rock, and then there would sort of be this little bit underground of metal, like the Deftones. You could say the Deftones and heads would turn in a restaurant. They'd be like, are you into those too? Stuff like March Volta would be another one that you could turn heads.
El Paso, yeah.
Because of the El Paso. But these were bands that were not terribly high record play, but they were very, very popular in my town for some reason. But then beyond that, it was classic rock. I didn't know Eddie Money was not the biggest rocker ever till like 2003. Right. I was like, you guys like Eddie Money, right? He plays every year at the festival in my hometown. Eddie Money was huge on his like 25-year retirement tour. It was all classic rock in my town.
Yeah. I also feel like El Paso and like even San Antonio, they were always like a few years behind everybody else. Like musically, like you would.
That's a good point.
I remember I'd go to San Antonio and be like Godsmack and
Godsmack. I forgot about Godsmack.
And you go,
bringing back some memories.
Yeah, but you go, we had those guys a few years ago. Like we've already. Like, it was weird. Like they kind of like. It's like Japan for metal bands in the 80s was San Antonio and El Paso. It's like on your way down, they're still huge there.
That's true. You know what? Not only are you right about that, you're also right about franchises coming to my town. I remember Starbucks came to El Paso, and our big thing was like, we got Starbucks now. It had already been in the nation for 5 years. And we're like, there was a line around the block when it first opened. Starbucks, Krispy Kreme donuts was another one. And when they open, when the franchise opens, we show up. We talk a bunch of shit. We're like, Starbucks, no one's gonna pay $3 for coffee. We were there 100-person deep in the line to go to Starbucks. We're like that. And the nation already had all these things.
Years. You go, why is Papa Roach playing the Starbucks grand opening? This is weird.
Papa Roach was very big in my dorm room. That was a big a move. If you moved into the dorms in college, the first week you were there and everybody's moving in, and there was always one guy who has his dorm room door open, blasting Papa Roach. And you'd be like, okay, we
All
know,
right.
yeah. We know about 65% of what this dude's like.
That's funny.
We
Yeah.
definitely know.
Yeah. I saw everybody back then because 90s was such a weird, like music was like really quick, right? It was like grunge, and then it was new metal, it was rap rock, then it was funk, and then it was like, so you would like see, like it would be like, I remember like Lollapalooza one year, it was like Smashing Pumpkins, Green Day, Beastie Boys, L7. So it was just like all, and then you had like the 311, and then like even like Korn and Limp Bizkit.
Right.
Like it was just so much so fast. And I would just go see everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm working on this idea in my head for a podcast one day. My musical knowledge is 80s and 90s, or my musical interest is 80s and 90s. Who do you think is the best representation of a 90s band? I have a thought in my head of if someone said like, what's a 90s band? What would be your,
I would probably say Nirvana.
That's good. That one's got to be in the top three. Mine was REM. REM because it sounds like 90s. It has that teen angst. They didn't do a lot post 90s either. Right. I think music is dictated by the adolescent. So, it kind of portrays that image of the world is big. I'm trying to carve out my little corner of it. I'm figuring it out. I'm angry. I'm scared. So I think REM to me is what I would say to the aliens when they come visit and they say, what's a 90s band?
I love REM. For some reason, I always put them 80s, late 80s. But I feel like Nirvana was like equal parts Pixies, REM, and a little bit of Led Zeppelin. So I definitely like REM had like everyone has like the umbrella of, and everyone's, I feel like for those like grunge band, I feel like, especially in pop rock bands, I feel like REM, a lot of bands like spiraled out from that. I think they're like, you can hear REM in a lot of for a lot of 90s grunge bands, because they were like a pop band. They're like the Cure. Like if you take away the makeup,
that's true. A lot of Cure influence.
They're just a perfect pop band. They had to be gothy and makeup, but their songs are pop songs. And I feel like REM was kind of like that. I love REM. Absolutely.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. Like you say, pick me a pop 90s band. I think REM gets in there for sure. I always go to the 90s station in my car and you hear the Nirvanas, the Stone Temple Pilots. And then you hear like what bands that weren't as popular, like Meat Puppets, Silverchair. And I'm like, this stuff fucking rocks. This is like, I know we call this alternative, but this is rock. This is hard rock. It's so cool. I can't believe there's always a band where like, oh yeah, I love this song. And I can't remember the name. I never heard of the name.
Right.
And I'm like, I remember this song. This was heavy play. What was it? There was one I had to look up. I think it was Eve 6. I was like, I remember this song was on every half hour. Just their one song.
Yeah. There was, I think everyone like branched out from all the bands that like 90s bands. It was always like a huge Talking Heads influence, huge REM, Pixies, Cure, and then like with like the rhythm section of like Zeppelin and like those types of things, I think was like kind of, I can hear that in a lot of grunge music.
Were you a Morrissey guy?
Oh, Smith. I have Smiths on vinyl. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay. I thought there had to be some Morrissey crossover here. I got into Morrissey very late. Yeah, I got into Morrissey late when I was in my 20s, so out of the 90s. And it was one of those like, how come I never heard of this? I didn't know about any of this.
Yeah. I actually just got Johnny Marr's book. The Smiths were like, again, another, you're talking about like, you can hear the Smiths in a lot of band, especially like pop punk bands, like the long title, like the Fall Out Boy and the Panic at the Disco, like this long titles, like that's a Smiths move.
Yes.
And I'm obsessed. I love them.
Growing up in the Southwest and in Texas, I think you spend so much time driving and you need good driving music. You need Smiths is good driving music. The Eagles is good driving music.
Mm-hmm.
Fleetwood Mac is one of the bands where I have a million negative thoughts and a million positive thoughts of all their songs at the same time. And they're just songs for driving and rethinking the last 7 to 12 years of your own life.
Yeah.
And you just ponder it. You're just alone with the music.
That's funny. Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Well, you grew up in Dallas. When did you make the move to Los Angeles?
2012. So I was like 33, something like that. I'm 40 now. So I'm really bad at math. 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. No, that doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't, because I'm the same age as you.
30, I don't remember. In my 30s. Yeah. 2012, I moved out here.
What was the plan? Was it to do comedy? Was there a different initial plan when you first came
comedy.
Here?
I moved out here with two other dudes from Dallas. Actually, there was actually like 10 Dallas comics that moved out to LA over the couple of years. And we were like the last wave of guys that came out here. And it was Mark Agee and Tone Bell and me. We all moved and got an apartment on Lankershim in North Hollywood. And the plan was to make it in Hollywood. And which is a great plan if you're not in your 30s. There's something about living on an air mattress with a bunch of other dudes at 30 something. It's not as romantic as when you're in your 20s.
At what point do you say, guys, we got to adjust our goals? We got to make it in North Hollywood.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
It's a lot, because when you're in like your 20s, it's like easier to like sleep and be poor. And like, it's like when you're 30 and you've had a taste of like a nice place, and it's hard to go backwards. I mean, when I moved out here, like my apartment was like beautiful. My apartment in Dallas was like amazing. It was like, and then it goes so far backwards. You go, I don't know about this.
I couldn't agree more. I moved here when I was 34, and you come here with, you have dreams, you have ambitions, you have plans, but you've also lived a life before you've come here. You're not moving here when you're 21 or 22. Right. You've had jobs, you've had relationships, you've had apartments. And then you get here, and my feeling was kind of like, what's the plan? Let's hit the ground running. Let's find a job. Let's go. Let's make a schedule. And for me, it was like, no hanging out. I got stuff to do, know? And I think in some way it benefits you. In some way, I almost wish I came here when I was younger, because I would just have gone with the flow. I would have taken my lumps earlier. You move here when you move here. So there's nothing you can do about it, but coming here in your 30s. So that was my next question, is like, where was your first apartment? Yours was North Hollywood. Mine was Sherman Oaks. I moved here with a bunch of roommates, and I was Sherman Oaks, and sirens outside your door all the time. Loud. This is noisy.
I know.
All the time here. And you just start to learn, you just start to try and learn this massive city. You start to learn where north, east, south, and west is. And you start to go from there. What was your first job you had here?
Well, I didn't work for like the first 6 months. I came here with like 20 grand in a savings account, and that lasted about 6 months. And then I went into full panic mode, because I was like, blew through all my money so fast, because it's LA. Of course you do. And so I was like freaked out. I didn't have a job, and then I ended up getting a job at this place called the Bow and Truss, which is in North Hollywood on Lankershim and Magnolia. It's something else now. It's like a Tex-Mex place, ironically. But dude, I was a bar back. They hired me as a bar back. It was like so humiliating. It's like I was a successful stand-up comedian and a bartender at a nightclub in Dallas, making $400 a night. And now they're like, yeah, you could cut limes and like get ice for the real bartenders. And you go, what is happening? And I was just taking it on the chin, and just like, dude, LA humbled me so incredibly much. And then I was miserable there. And then my friend ended up getting me a job at Flappers. I was about to move home. I was like out of money, and I wasn't making any money as a bar back. And my friend Christy, who was the bar manager of Flappers, got me a job there. And eventually they didn't want to hire me in the beginning, because they didn't want comics working there, behind the bar, especially because I mean, rightly so, he's like, I want a bartender who's going to be a bartender. I don't want a bartender who's like, hey, can I jump off, leave the bar to go do a set?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it took some convincing, but he was like, fine. And they hired me, and I worked there for a few years.
Mm-hmm. That's where I
Yeah.
first met you, as you were the bartender
Yeah. Yeah. And you
at
would
the
come in and
Flappers.
host the mic. Yeah.
Yeah, you were the bartender at the Flappers Comedy Club in
Mhm.
Burbank. Had you already had bartender experience?
Yeah. I was in Dallas. I was working at nightclubs, and
You were a bartender before.
yeah. Yeah. That was like, I would like work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at this club in Dallas. And then I would do comedy, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I was like making a fortune. And,
Mm-hmm.
and then you move out here and it's like, yeah, the one place hired me as the bar back. And then, I was working at Flappers, and it was a good job. But I wasn't rolling in the money, and then you realize like, oh, most people aren't. But this is like how this is what unless you're wearing like
Mm-hmm.
West Hollywood with your shirt off, you ain't clearing $400 a night
Right.
anymore. And that
Right.
was a huge shock to me. Yeah.
It seems like we all have that LA humbling moment sometime between the first day one and 3 months in. We're like,
Mhm.
damn, I'm starting at zero again.
Dude, zero.
I am gonna have to dig my way out of this again.
Patrick, I would literally go and do the road. I would like go and do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, kill it, fly back, had to be at work at Flappers on Monday to have a comic like shake his empty water glass at me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And just get like comics snapping at me like, hey, I want to do the open mic. Can I get a ticket? Like, hey man,
Yeah.
hey. And I'm just like, dude, it was so humbling. I just had to like take it and be like, all right, yeah, here's
the restaurant world, bartending world. I put this in there because I have a ton of like working at retail places. Everybody should have to work retail or in a restaurant for at least 6 to 12 months.
yeah.
Just to get that, you're going to get insulted by somebody younger than you. You're going to have to work past your time. You're going to have to show up early at some point. Just to get some perspective. You're going to have to train someone new at some point, just to get a little like kind of meat on the bone of working class. I had a couple LA moments where I had a job in Santa Monica, and I would drive there, and it took me a while to figure out the timing, how to get there on time. And luckily I had a manager who was like understanding. He's like, no, okay, just leave early. Hey, if you're late, just call us, let us know. This is how it goes. And he would say, you know what I do in traffic? I just watch movies. I'm like, watch movies? How do you, in a car? Say, yeah, I just put it on my iPad. I just listen to it. I'm like, people do that here. But I had a good LA moment once where I was behind Hollywood Boulevard. I was just south of the Boulevard, sitting there. I was like eating fast food in my car or something. I was hanging out on the curb, and Hollywood Boulevard has all like Spider-Man and Thor and Michael Jackson impersonators on the boulevard. And I'm sitting in my car behind the boulevard, and I see Darth Vader start walking down the street. Like he had been on the boulevard taking pictures, and I see him walking down the street, and he gets into a shitty Honda. Like he's going home. And then props to him, he didn't take off the helmet till he got in the car. I'm like, holy cow, what is this guy's life, man? And Darth Vader just got into a Honda Civic, and he's just driving off. He's done for the day. I'm like, what is going on in this town? I don't understand this. This is sometimes I don't want to know what goes on behind the curtain.
Maddening. Yeah. It's so humbling because you're like, why are you treating me like, like you would host the mic there, and like it was always good to see people like you and like people that were like very like night, and like we're like, oh, you do comedy also, and you also bartend, versus like some of these people were just like, oh, you're just a bartender, give me my free water. And I would just be like, I would just have like, yeah, you got it, no problem, and just take it all the time.
Yeah, I could see like other comics giving you a little bit of kind of due respect because they know you, but I could see patrons of the club or whatever definitely getting the like, where's the lime? Straw, no straw, no ice. I definitely could see that for sure. That would be a harsh one.
Yeah.
Bartending though, did you go to bartending school?
No.
How did you learn?
My friend, so I would do shows at the Improv in Dallas, and across the street was the bar. And it was my favorite bar to hang out. All my friends worked there, and I would like do shows, and then I would bring everyone to the bar, and then the bar would be packed on like a Monday night, right? It would be like a Tuesday night or whatever. And then the owner was like, dude, like you have like this crazy following that like loves to hang out with you, drink with you. He's like, why don't you do like celebrity bartending nights here? And I was like, oh, that's cool. I was like, I've never bartended before. And he goes, yeah, it's fine. And then so he hired me, and I like came in Wednesdays. He's like, bartend on Wednesdays. It'll be like your night, you and Max, this guy Max. And I was like, cool. And then so I showed up on Wednesday, and he was like, he had been so drunk he didn't remember hiring me. So he was like, oh, I hired you last week. I was like, yeah. And he goes, you bartended before though, right? I was like, never. He goes, you'll figure it out. And he like walked away. And poor Max, man. Max like had to teach me how to bartend like on the spot. Like he would be like,
Really?
I would do shit, be like, what are you doing? Like it's not, and he was so patient, but he would get so frustrated. And so I just had to learn, again, it was one of those things that like I picked up because I was interested in it, and I learned very, very very quickly how to do it.
So many jobs you get by pure accident, it seems.
Pure luck.
Like all the resumes I ever typed up, sent out, business cards I made, I don't think anything ever came from any of those.
Yeah.
The first job, I first moved to Salt Lake City, and I had bike store experience. I always worked in bicycle stores. None of my other jobs or resumes worked out. And then my friends was like, well, do you want to work at the bike store? I'm like, I guess so. Okay. All right. Come in for an interview. I go interview with the manager. He's like, okay, well, all right. Well, this seems like a good fit. All right. We'll hire you. And then I hear the manager go into the office where the boss is, and he goes, yeah, we're going to hire him. And I hear the boss go, all right. I'm like, oh, I guess he's kind of he's 50-50 on me right now. And a good job I had for a long time, but that's like funny. He could have went either way on it. It seems like the same thing for you. The boss was like, I don't remember hiring you.
Yeah. Because that's fine. I worked there for years.
And you picked it up. How it seems bartending, when I look at bartenders, it seems so complicated. It seems drinks and people. And I've seen you guys work at the bar when it's going full tilt, and people are barking out orders, and you're yelling when the order's up, and you're yelling when you're ready for another order. And how long did it take you to pick that up?
I picked up actually quicker than a lot of people for some reason. I was just able to like get really good at multitasking, but like we would be so slammed at this place in Dallas that like I just had to figure it out. Like we would be so slammed. Like it would be like all the way down people, all the way back people. And it was just like, you just gotta like, I don't know. I just figured it out. And if someone orders this and then someone else orders this, you make both of them at the same, you take 4 orders in case some of them are similar. You can make 4 drinks at the same time. And I kind of took that with me at Flappers. You would be there at Flappers when it would be like Dave, the owner, would be like calling tickets, and we would just be making drinks. And then I love that. It was so fun. I loved working at Flappers, especially when I could see a certain
type of person really liking that. I'd be like, you would yell out, "Go for Justin!" And then we like, he needs a Long Island iced tea, no cherries, and you're just like dropping ice in there. Another person's walking behind you, and they're like, "I'm behind you," and you're like, "Got it." It's like a full military operation. I'm sitting there like, just get to me when you can.
Yeah, you would always be like, whatever. I just take my soda water.
I'll just come back tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny. I actually miss that.
Yeah, I can see it being exciting in a way. What was it like making drinks? What is one of the more difficult drinks to make? Or what do you hate making? What is it?
Fucking Flappers. And I would yell at Dave. I'd be like, what are you doing? He would create the teeny teenies. So he would make miniature martinis. And so
sorry sounds like a bad idea.
I would get so mad. I was like, Dave, what are you doing? And he'd be like, I know they sell though. And he was right. It's a good financial thing, but they would offer, you could get a flight of martinis. You get 3 martinis. You could mix and match any 3 you wanted. And they were like miniature martinis. So you would literally you'd have to make all these crazy, funky, like milk chocolate Godiva martinis, but like half the size, but 3 different versions. So it'd be like, I need a miniature Godiva, I need a miniature apple, I need a miniature watermelon. And you go, and then like you'd make it, and then another order would come in and be like, okay, now I need a small watermelon and a small this one and a small, and it would just get so confusing. And it was
Wow.
like, oh my gosh, yeah. Those I hated. I would get so mad. Because then you got milk in the shaker tin and you got to rinse the milk out.
They're making me mad just hearing you describe them. I'm like, who would order this? And in my head, I know who would order this, and I hate this person.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, Dave, stop making these teeny. And then you run out of glasses. We'd run out of small like martini glass. Right. I can't make it anymore. I'm out.
The underrated lesson of life, I would say, is at some point everybody needs to have a friend who is a bartender. And the other side of that sword is everybody needs to have a girlfriend who's a bartender for 4 to 6 months. And then when that chaos rains down upon you, just be happy you made it out alive. Because I had a girlfriend who was a bartender for a little bit, and it was awesome because you'd go into the pack bar and she would be like, oh, okay, I'll get you guys a seat at the bar. She would make, you'd get a little VIP treatment, and then you'd get all the drinks, and then you'd get the bill at the end of the night. It'd be like $11.
Yeah.
Like, okay, great. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to leave a huge tip. This is a great day.
Yeah.
So you had that. And then the flip side, it would bite me in the ass because she would be like, okay, my friend's also a bartender. Let's go to her bar. And you would just bar hop at all these places. And this particular girl, all her friends were gay men. So you would go to gay bars. And if you've ever been in line at a gay bar to order a drink and you're the sixth person in line, it's going to take you 35 minutes to get to the bar. Yeah. No gay dudes are ordering beer and moving out of line. It is complicated drink. It is umbrellas. It is watermelons. It is, yeah. So it is a tough one. Everybody needs to have a bartender friend at some point. It is well worth its weight in gold if you can manage that.
But the flip side, because I would have that to me too, is like you go to their bar and then you'd like and like your tab would be like $11. Like, this is great. And then like, but you were saying like, oh, then come see me at my bar. And then you feel like, but then you have to like tip. So you're not saving any money because you feel this. So you tip like $80 or whatever. You're like, I'm really not I'm still spending a shit ton of money.
You're starting to pinpoint the center of the problem I had. you might have hit it right on the head. It's kind of fun for a short period of time, at least the girlfriend part. The friend, if you had like your bros, one of your bros was a bartender, that might be a totally different story. That might just be pure fun. But yeah, everybody needs to have a bartender friend. And also, if you've got a group of friends, say from out of town, you can be the big man and be like, let's go to this bar. My friend's a bartender. That is huge. That is a big, big way to go. That gets you points with anybody like, you know, the bartender? It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So what is your plan or goals, say between now 6 months to a year, in getting back going? Because it seems here in LA, we're in the freshman year of starting up again.
Yeah.
So I think we're just sort of starting to put plans out there. But yourself personally, do you plan to get back on the road? Are you hoping do you have stuff locally? How do you, how are you sussing it out?
I'm going back to Texas for 2 weeks next week. I got a bunch of shows lined up there, and I get to see my family for the first time since all of this. And then I got it's like San Diego, Arizona, anything that I can like kind of drive to and just do comedy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really don't want to do the road too much as far as like getting on airplanes and going to stuff. I'd like to do stuff that I can drive to and like do stuff around town. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I would agree. I'm more or less same boat. It's time for a barrage of emails and let's see what sticks. And then let's get back to it. Because
the road's not really helpful. Yeah, it's really not. After a while, you go, all right, I've done the road, this, that, and the other. And if you're not like headlining and like selling a bunch of tickets, it's like it can be draining. And I think there's a murder outside of my apartment.
Hey, I think I know your neighborhood.
Yeah. I think the look is to like be around town more and do stuff more around here for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. It's on the road versus local is two different ball games.
Yeah.
Here in Los Angeles, if you can get stuff locally, it's kind of great and fun, but LA, you need to leave LA to do stand up.
That's why I'm like anything I can drive to. I'm doing Arizona a bunch, San Diego a bunch. Anything I can just kind of like get out and drive to, I could. But yeah, I don't really like. want to get out and like do too much. Like,
How
spend
come? Are
3
you
weeks
still
in
cautious
bed.
or you don't?
No, I'm just exhausted. It's just like
I
it's
see.
not really like my act is there, the jokes are there. I don't really need to go and test it and like flex really anymore. I'd like to, you go out of town because you want to like, I don't know, like kind of like try it. And it's like I don't need to go to Dayton, Ohio for a week right now. Like I'd rather,
Mhm.
I think it's more beneficial to get up around LA and like network with other people and hopefully, because a lot of people left. So people like you and I, like we're moving up, right? Like a lot of
Right.
people
I'm
left.
thinking the
So
same
people,
thing. I'm
yeah.
treating LA this year as I did 8th grade basketball. I never played, but when report cards came out and 4 or 5 kids were ineligible because they got bad grades, guess who's the 6th man now, baby? Guess who's getting
Exactly. Yeah.
8 minutes of playing time?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm with you in that. It's like maybe there's a little more room to carve out
Mhm.
now since there's
Mhm.
maybe 1 or 2% less folks. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the road's there, and I'll still will. Like I'll take some stuff here and there. But as far as like hitting it as hard as I did, where like I was always gone, I didn't really want to do that.
Yeah, I hear you. I think we're, at least here in LA, we're getting back into the gym essentially, and all our muscles are sore and be like, oh, I don't want to do that incline bench just yet, but
Yeah.
I will at some point. I will. So I hear
Yeah.
you. I think you're not alone in that. Well, I thought to round out the interview with the head-to-head Rotten Tomatoes game, I have a very special bartender movie edition of
Okay.
the Rotten Tomatoes game. Here's how the game works, Justin. I'm going to give you 2 movies head to head, and you're going to guess which one has the higher Rotten Tomatoes score. Now,
Okay.
there's a couple ways you can score points in this game. Number 1, I'm going to read you the description, and as soon as you know the movie I'm describing, you can yell out the movie. You can get points that way. And then, of course, you can get points by guessing the winner of the head-to-head battle. I have a practice one for you to get loose on.
Okay.
This is the beginning of the night. Nobody's coming to the bar yet. You can get these drinks out easy. This is the practice one. Okay, here we go. Practice one. Here's the description. A lonely, aging movie star and a conflicted newlywed meet in Tokyo. One is filming a whiskey commercial, the other accompanying her photographer husband. Strangers in a foreign land, the two find escape, distraction, and understanding. After a chance meeting at a quiet hotel bar, they form a bond that is unlikely as it is heartfelt and meaningful. Do you know this movie?
I'm gonna guess Lost in Translation.
From 2003, Lost in Translation. So you would have got that one. Okay, here's its movie it's going up against. After being released from prison and reuniting with his brother, the two attempt to save the orphanage the two grew up in from closing by raising $5,000. The two are convinced they can earn the money by getting their old band together. After playing several gigs and making enemies, including the police, the brothers face daunting odds to deliver the money on time.
I don't think I know that one.
Don't know it?
No.
This movie is from 1980, Blues Brothers.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, this
I
was
saw
kind of
Blues
a
Brothers.
more on the vague side of description for this movie.
Yeah, I remember it being a road trip movie. I didn't realize that was it's been so long since I saw it. Yeah, I don't think I would have gotten that one. Interesting. All right.
1980. How far did $5,000 go in 1980? It could
Right.
save
Yeah,
$5,000
exactly.
could save an orphanage in 1980,
Yeah.
apparently. Amazing. 2 memorable bar scenes. We got the hotel bar in Lost in Translation.
Right.
And in the Blues Brothers one is the bar scene where they're in front of chicken wire.
In the cage.
They're in a cage
Yeah.
and people throw beer bottles at them. So
Yeah.
your movies are Lost in Translation versus the Blues Brothers. This is our practice round.
Rotten Tomato wise, I'm going to say Lost in Translation.
Lost in Translation is 95%. Blues Brothers 75%. You would have gotten the point on that one. Okay, well that was an easy one. That was making a vodka Red Bull of head-to-heads. Okay, now we're into the tough stuff. Okay, number 1. Yell out when you know this movie. Graced with a velvet voice, a 21-year-old heads to New York to pursue her dream of becoming a songwriter, only to find her aspirations sidelined by the accolades and notoriety she receives from her day job as a barmaid. Her and other barmaids tantalize customers with their outrageous antics.
Coyote Ugly.
You got it, from 2000, Coyote Ugly. You got the point.
I knew it as soon as you said the first sentence, but I wanted to make
Velvet
sure.
Voice.
Yeah.
All right, you got one. You already got a point. You're on the board. From 2000, Coyote. One of the like very secret movies that I think everybody has seen, yet no one admits to.
Yeah.
You know? That was your first movie. Second movie. The meanest, loudest, and rowdiest bar south of the Mason-Dixon line hires a new bartender to clean it up. He doesn't look like much, but the PhD educated bouncer proves he's more than capable. Busting heads of troublemakers
Roadhouse.
who turns, you got it, from 1989, Roadhouse. You're on the board with 2 points there. All right. Your two movies, Coyote Ugly versus Roadhouse. Take me through your thought process.
Here's what I would say. Here's my guess.
Yes. Tell me your thought process.
I think both of those are probably scored rotten. I think that Roadhouse over time has become a classic in people's minds because of Patrick Swayze, but I think when it came out, it may not have been loved. I know Coyote Ugly did very poorly and was hated. I don't think either of them have high Rotten Tomato scores, but I'm going to say that Roadhouse is probably higher than Coyote Ugly.
You're picking Roadhouse. Hey, aren't we due another chick bartender movie? It's 2021. We need a chick bartender movie. That seems like just an evergreen. Yeah. We can make this movie 20 times over, and I think it would be great. Yeah. Okay, so you're going Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Okay. Coyote Ugly is rotten at 23%.
Yeah.
Roadhouse is rotten.
Yeah.
At 37%. You thought right.
Yeah.
All right, you're off to a good start here.
All
right. Number 2. Yell out when you know the movie. These are getting progressively harder, by the way.
Damn it.
A nightclub owner discovers his old flame is in town with her husband. Her husband is a famed rebel with Germans on his tail. The wife knows the old flame and the nightclub owner can help them get out of the country. Do you know this movie?
Oh my gosh. I don't think so. I mean, unless it's like, is it an old movie? Can I ask that or no?
Can
you tell me the year?
I can't tell you the year. It's older than it is right now.
Because
you got memorable bar. There's a bar in this movie somewhere.
Yeah.
There's a couple of words in this description that could be telling.
Okay.
This is tough. So, I'm not going to lie to you. This is tough.
So my first thought was Inglourious Bastards, right? There's that scene at the bar when they go, but I don't think that it was, it was an old flame thing. Rebel Without a Cause. There was that one movie. Shit. What is it?
From 1942. The movie is Casablanca.
Oh, yeah. I've
never
seen Casablanca. Yeah, I have never seen it. Damn. Okay.
Yeah, I thought with the description, the only thing you can take out of this description is Germans and old flame. If you know the storyline, he tries. I don't know. I've never even seen it. I just know they get on a plane at the end of it. Okay, movie number 2. Yell out when you know this movie. Memorable bar scenes edition. A princess is held hostage for her efforts to quell evil overlords. In an attempt to rescue her, a young man, his mentor, and a newly found pilot find the resistance is greater than anticipated as they fight to restore freedom and justice to the galaxy.
Wait. Say that. Say it one more time.
You want me to read that again?
Yeah.
A princess is held hostage for her efforts to quell evil overlords. In an attempt to rescue her, a young man, his mentor, and a newly found pilot find the resistance is greater than anticipated as they fight to restore freedom and justice to the galaxy.
Would that be Star Wars?
You got it, from 1977, Star Wars.
The cantina.
Right. Memorable bar scene would be the cantina. You don't know what I had to do to write that description in a way that didn't give away that movie.
I was like, wait, I think that's Star Wars. Yeah.
Great memorable bar scene in that movie. So you got Casablanca versus Star Wars. Very two big heavy hitters. Casablanca is fresh at 99%.
Yeah.
Star Wars is fresh at 92%. You're on the money.
Yeah.
All right. You might be approaching the record high. I think the record high is 6 points for this game. You're at 5.
I wish I would have gotten Casablanca, but that's okay.
Going into the last matchup. All right, here we go. Concentrate here. Movie number 1, memorable bar scenes. A young man wants a high-paying marketing job, but needs a business degree first. Working as a bartender to pay for college, he becomes mentored by his veteran bartender boss. Together, their showy tricks and charisma command large crowds until they have a falling out. The young bartender moves to Jamaica to raise enough money to open his own bar, where he falls in love with an artist.
Is it Cocktail?
From 1988, the movie is Cocktail.
Yeah.
Got it. Cocktail. Where do you stand on Cocktail as one of the all-time bartender / cruise movies? I watched this movie recently, and I end up with more questions than I started with that movie.
Yeah.
We've got an up-and-coming cruise. We've got a very fetching Elizabeth Shue. We've got 1980s bar scene. It seems all the ingredients are there for success.
Success, yeah.
Success. Okay, movie number 2. A 1970s New York City nightclub is the epicenter of sex, drugs, and disco. It's there that an up-and-coming endeavors to make his big city dreams come true.
Studio 54.
You got it, from 1998. Studio 54, or I think it's just called 54. I'm gonna give 54. You that one.
Is that Mike Myers?
Right. I was looking at this movie, researching it. The cast is Mike Myers, Ryan Philippe, Nev Campbell, Selma Hayek, I think, is in this movie. This is a packed movie. And I remember very little of it. I don't know if this is pre-Austin Powers, Mike Myers or not.
I think it was.
98?
What year?
The 1998. It might have been right before. Because I think a lot of people forget all the movies Mike Myers was in pre-Austin Powers. Movies like So I Married an Axe Murderer kind of came and went. And you're like, Mike Myers was still finding his fastball in a lot of these movies.
I'm trying to remember when Austin Powers came out, though. Was I in?
It might have been. Let's look it up. Let's.
You know what? Out. It might have been after Austin Powers 1, in between 2.
That's true too. Maybe it was. If so, that's a huge power play from Mike Myers. All right, let's take a look. Austin Powers originally came out in 1997. Interesting.
Yeah. So this was after.
And then The Spy Who Shagged Me, 99, the sequel.
Yeah. This was in between.
So we got Austin Powers, 54, The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Yeah.
So we got some peak Mike Myers here. He's on fire at this point.
Yeah.
So your movie's Cocktail versus 54.
I don't think 54 did very well. I'm going to go with Cocktail.
You're going Cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
Cocktail is rotten at 7%.
Oh.
54 is rotten 16%. You missed that one. Yeah. However, you did set a new record. You're at 7 points. The previous record was 6 from Sean Leary, who I talked to last week.
Yeah, I remember both those movies not doing great.
Right. I don't know why. I don't know why 54 didn't get a cult following. It seems like it's perfect. It's catching Ryan Philippe at a good time. Nev Campbell, Party of Five, Heat, Selma Hayek. I don't know how you do wrong with that. And then you've got Mike Myers, who's surprisingly good in this movie, and yet somehow this movie is rotten.
Sometimes you'll watch movies, like I watched the new Star Wars movies, and I go, everything's here. All the ingredients are here. It's just not a good movie.
Maybe it's one of those ones where there's almost, you put too much spice in the soup and it ends up just tasting bland, perhaps.
Yeah, there's too much sizzle and not enough steak.
Well, 7 points, the new leader in the clubhouse, Justin Foster, with memorable bar scenes in movies head-to-head Rotten Tomatoes. Justin, I hope we cross paths again really soon out there.
Me too. I
hope shows come around and we cross paths and get to share a stage. Or maybe I can just order the tiny martinis at the bar.
No.
Thank you, Justin. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me. All right.
Okay, that is the episode. That is it. That is Running It Back with me, your host, Patrick Ramirez. Thank you, Justin Foster, for joining me this week. That was really great to catch up with him, see how the last year treated him, see how he's getting back out there and pursuing comedy, much like me, too. I just want to get out there. Justin just wants to get out there. And also, I just love hearing people's initial expectations and experiences when they moved here to Los Angeles. It is not easy to do. Everybody has a story, and I have yet to hear one story that was good. They're all difficult. Justin, of course, is plowing through. He's doing it. He's doing the work. He's working. He's performing. And he's ready to go. Great talking with him. And as you'll see, quite the Rotten Tomatoes player. So, coming up, more guests on the show, more plans, more me. Hope you can take it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Give it a like if you wouldn't mind. Give my channel a subscribe if you haven't already, and keep watching. More show coming. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.